In a world that often measures success in dollars and cents, a man with nothing reminded everyone what true wealth really is. This is the story of John, a homeless man whose simple act of honesty didn't just change his own life. It sent ripples of kindness through an entire city. As the pale morning light broke over the cold city streets, John shivered, pulling his thin jacket tighter. Another cold night, he mumbled to himself, his breath a white cloud in the frigid air. Made it through. Maybe today I'll find a piece of bread. He looked up at the sky, a habit he'd kept for years. His mother's words echoed in his memory, a small comfort in the vast emptiness. She used to say, "As long as you can see the sun, you can start again." He held onto that thought like a lifeline. Just then, his eyes caught a flicker of movement. A well-dressed woman rushing into a tall, imposing building dropped an envelope without noticing. "Hey, ma'am!" John called out, his voice raspy from the cold. "You dropped something! Hey, wait!" But she was already gone, swallowed by the revolving doors. He sighed, limping over to the fallen envelope. He picked it up, his fingers numb. "What's this?" he whispered, his curiosity piqued. He carefully opened the unsealed flap and pulled out the contents. His eyes widened. It was a check. "Holy!" he breathed, staring at the long string of zeros. This could change everything. For a long moment, the world seemed to stop. In his hands, he held a ticket out of his current life. A warm bed, hot meals, a future free from hunger and cold. The temptation was immense, a powerful wave threatening to pull him under. He could just walk away. No one would ever know. But then, he looked at the name on the check, a name that wasn't his. "But it's not mine," he said softly, the words firm, decisive. The battle in his soul was over before it truly began. His integrity, the one thing he still fully possessed, had won. Hours later, John stood at the entrance of the same building, the envelope clutched in his hand. The day had warmed, but a new kind of chill settled over him as a security guard approached. "Hey, you can't stand here, old man. Move along," the guard said gruffly. John held up the envelope. "Please, sir. I'm not begging. I just came to return this. Someone dropped it." The guard looked at him, his expression a mixture of suspicion and disbelief. "You found that on the street? And brought it back?" he asked, his tone softening slightly. "Yes," John replied. "It seemed important. Please, can you give it to the owner?" Inside the building's lavish lobby, the receptionist took the envelope. As she pulled out the check, her professional composure vanished. This is $1 million check," she gasped. "Wait here. Don't move." Moments later, a sharply dressed businessman, the owner of the company, strode into the lobby, his face a mask of concern. He stopped in front of John. "You're the one who brought this?" he asked, his voice low and serious. "Yes, sir," John said. "I found it outside your building." The businessman locked eyes with him. "Do you know how much this is worth?" he pressed. "No, sir," John answered truthfully. "But I know it isn't mine." A heavy silence filled the space between them. The businessman studied John, seeing past the worn-out clothes and the tired lines on his face. He saw the strength in his eyes. "You could have taken it," the businessman said softly. "Why didn't you?" John's reply was simple, yet profound. "Because keeping what's not yours never fills an empty stomach for long." The words hung in the air, a powerful testament to the man's character. In the company's conference room, the businessman addressed his team, his voice filled with emotion. "This man," he said, gesturing towards John, "found a check worth $1.2 million. He could have vanished and we would have been ruined. But instead, he came here." He then turned to John. "Do you have a home, John?" he asked gently. John shook his head. "No, sir, just the ground below me and the sky above." The businessman smiled. "Then today you'll have both a roof and a future." He handed John a smaller envelope. Confused, John asked, "What is this?" "A small token of our immense gratitude," the businessman explained. John opened it. Inside was a check for $10,000. He immediately tried to hand it back. I can't take this," he stammered. "I didn't do it for money." The businessman gently pushed his hand back. "You didn't. And that's precisely why you deserve it." Tears welled up in John's eyes, the first he'd shed in years. They weren't tears of sadness, but of overwhelming gratitude. "Thank you, sir," he choked out. "I don't know what to say." The businessman placed a hand on his shoulder. "Just promise me one thing. Never lose that heart of yours." Months passed. John used the money to get a small apartment and clean himself up. One day, while sitting in a cafe, he heard a familiar voice. It was the woman who had dropped the envelope. "John, is that really you?" she asked, her eyes wide with surprise. John smiled warmly. "The same, just a bit cleaner now." The woman's face was filled with emotion. "You have no idea how much that check meant," she said. "It was for our employees' salaries. If you hadn't brought it back, dozens of families would have suffered because of my mistake." John's smile was kind. "Then I guess it was meant for me to find it. Maybe it was a small test, to make sure it was delivered safely." She shook her head, tears in her eyes. "You saved us, John." He simply replied, "No, ma'am. I just did what's right." But John's story didn't end there. He never forgot where he came from. He became a familiar welcome sight on the same streets he used to call home, this time handing out food and warm clothes. "Hey, John, you're back," another homeless man called out one evening. "Of course," John said, handing him a meal. "I know what it's like to be hungry. Here, take this, and don't lose hope, all right?" The man looked at him with admiration. "How did you do it, man? How did your life change so fast?" John smiled, a deep, knowing smile. "It started the day I chose honesty over hunger." As he walked away, a stray dog he had adopted trotting faithfully by his side, John reflected on his incredible journey. "Funny," he thought to himself. "I used to think money could save me, but it was doing the right thing that saved my soul." John's story is a powerful reminder that our choices, not our circumstances, define who we are. True wealth isn't what you have in your pocket. It's the integrity you carry in your heart. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more inspiring content. We'll see you in the next video.